There we go. We are recording Wednesday, September 3rd at WSSB Geometry class, 4th period. And we are looking at page 12. And in Braille, it's page 12 straight up, right? In volume 2. And the section is titled 1-2 Points, Lines, and Planes. All right, so it's interesting. Now, let's talk about being like a high school math learner and a college learner. When we get these textbooks and we go, what is all this all about? Because when we have textbooks in other classes, they don't quite look the same as a math book. Typically, there's a lot more print and reading and writing, and you just kind of read straight through. In a math book, we're going to have some print, we're going to have some pictures, we're going to have some examples, and we want to be able to kind of make our way through the text and be a good math learner with the text. In this book, it will always have a section that'll start out with what you'll learn. Did you find that? Where it says what you'll learn? Yeah? That is like the objective of the section. It's warming up your brain to tell you, hey, get ready. You're going to learn this. All right? And what, somebody want to read what we're going to learn in this one?
I guess I can.
Okay, go for it.
You'll learn to identify and draw models of points, lines, and planes and determine their characteristics.
Good. Yeah. That's what we're going to learn. We're going to get going on what is this geometry stuff all about? Points, lines, and planes. We can't talk about really and learn about a triangle until we understand that we got to have some points and some lines and some planes in order to talk about that triangle. And then when we put the triangle together to make other things, and we put it together to make other things. So here is the foundation of our geometry, right? And we're going to start talking about these points, lines, and planes and these definitions of them that we're going to accept and go, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. So that then we can move forward with the rest of the stuff that's going to happen in geometry and how we study and think about and look for patterns and come up with conjectures, statements about the world in terms of geometry, all right? Now, for Braillers, all three of you, Paige is a Brailler also. You're going to learn that there's some Braille code for identifying whether it's a point, line, or plane, okay? So this book is going to kind of go through that too, because we're going to encounter that. And some of the Braille code you might know, and some of it's going to be new, and you'll be like, oh, aha! And that will be where it's kind of accomplishing your Nemeth goal, right? That you're learning about these new Braille symbols, Nemeth Braille code for your math, okay? So we know, all right, this is what we're going to learn. If in print or in Braille something is identified, indicated as highlighted or whatever, that's usually a really important vocabulary term that we want to pay attention to, and that's talking about a little strategy where it says reading geometry. Points, lines, and planes are referred to as undefined terms. So I want to go past where it says geometry is the study, or where it says geometry is the study of points, lines, and planes and their relationships. Everything we see contains elements of geometry. Even the painting below is made entirely of small, carefully placed dots of color. So that's really big to think about. Like, let's think about that. Everything we see contains elements of geometry. So everything we encounter, like the book that you have in front of you, contains elements of geometry, right? In order to get it to be a book, it's made up of infinitely many little points, right? We have some distinct points that it's made up, like each corner of our book is a point, isn't it? And then we join those corners together with the edge of our book, right? That's a line. And then we join all those lines together around our book and we create a page of paper, right? That's like a plane, isn't it? So our book is we put a bunch of those planes together, stacked up on top of each other, and it becomes the book. It becomes this rectangular solid, doesn't it? The shape. That's geometry. you are going to, students in geometry class usually complain to me after a while that they move through the world realizing how much geometry they encounter all the time, right? It's just like it starts to take over a little bit in your head, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting in this chair and it's geometry. Oh my gosh, my arms are on the table and it's geometry. So, your cane, it's geometry, isn't it? It's a cylinder. It has a circle on both ends. Like it's long. It's a line of point, 2 points, one end to the other, right? So it contains everything we see contains elements of geometry. Now they give an example of a painting because paintings are just all these little teeny tiny dots, really, of color. And if we reproduce them with a photograph or a copy machine, it's all these little teeny tiny dots of colors that then come together, these pixels that come together to make a painting or a picture. It's not necessarily the best example to give in a Braille book because you can't really see the picture. It just says Sunday afternoon on the island in Legrand, and you're like, great. So you have to trust me that there is a picture of a painting, and they're trying to remind us that it is made up a bunch of dots of color, okay? And each dot is representing a point. So that's where I want to get to, is that the next thing, find where it says a point. Can somebody find where it says a point? Find it. Can you find it? It says a point.
I found a line.
A line, okay. Let's back up.
Oh.
Let's see, on page 12 straight up, I think you're going to find where it says each dot in the painting represents a point. Let's see. Where are we? Maybe? Each, no, not there. Okay, maybe it is 12.
Wait, a point is the base.
There we go. Yeah, so 12A, second line down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A point is the basic unit of geometry, right? If we don't have points, we're nothing, right? Mm-hmm. We have to have a point in order to have a starting place, right? Now, the thing about a point is that it has no size. There are points on top of points, on top of points, right? It's infinite, okay? A piece of sand could be a point. If you put the piece of sand under a microscope, you would see a lot more points to that piece of sand, right? Those would be points. So, thing to think about and wrap your head around is that a point has no size. It's just this place in space that we're saying, okay, here's a point. Or the corner of my book, that's going to be a point. But even within the corner of my book could be infinitely many points, okay? But I'm going to start there at the corner of my book, and that's a point, right? Okay? So it's the basic unit. We got to have it, all right? So in the painting, all those little dots of paint were technically the points, okay? All right? Then the next thing we're going to have is a line, and that's a series of points that we put together. And they don't have an end. A line does not have an end technically. It goes into infinity in both directions. So if we have 2 points, like your book, the edge of your book, if you have the corner, the bottom right-hand corner and the top right-hand corner, and those would be 2 points, and the edge of your page of your book, they come together. That's actually, we could consider it a line because we have to imagine that it extends into infinity all the way up and all the way down because it's going through those points, right? The corners of our book, because they're there, they stop, don't they? We call that a line segment because it's a piece of the line that is happening between those 2 points. So let's try something with our bodies, okay? If we took our 2 index fingers on each hand, right? And we held them up in the air apart from each other, maybe, a few inches apart from each other. The end of each finger would be a point, right? And the connection between the two fingers is an imaginary line, isn't it? And it would extend through one side and the other side. It would go into infinity, but it would go through those two little points that we made with our fingers. Does that make sense? Sort of? Kind of bizarre to think that there's all these lines around us invisibly extending into infinity, right? We put two dots on a piece of paper, we draw a line, but we have to put arrowheads on the end of it because we're showing that it's going into infinity in each direction, okay? So a line has no end. It extends without end in two directions, okay? So the next thing, super important that we're going to read about, and especially for describing a point and describing a line, it has this table in my book, and it gives us the criteria for a point, and then it shows you a model, and that's what we're going to concentrate on, is how do we model a point? How do we label it in Braille? Okay, so first the description, it says a point has no size. Points are named using capital letters. The points at the right are named point A and point B. So you have in your Braille book 2 points. They're 2 little buttons that sometimes my students call them buttons. They make these little buttons for you. Did you find them? And then above the button on the left, it says capital A. And above the button, kind of tucked down on the right a little bit from there, it says capital B. Okay? When we type it out, when we Braille it out, we would say point. We would say the word point, capital A, point, capital B. Okay? So we use capital letters to represent points. So that's the code of geometry. And in your Braille code, it doesn't change. You still use capital indicator. Okay? Hey, Baker.
I have a question for you. I kind of forgot the answer. Do we have homework tonight?
Yeah, remember you're going to do
I kind of figured we did. I just didn't.
You're doing your nutritional study.
That thing.
Yeah. You got to do a data set on sugar grams and a data set on protein grams and do the same thing that you did with the last data set.
It would be kind of cool. For extra credit, we just did what you did in college.
And then also do your...
give up sugar for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we can do that. We can talk about that.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Where are you headed?
I don't have a class right now.
Oh, so you're going to hang out? Okay. All right. Geometry. Oriane and Becca.
Geometry, huh?
Yep. All right. So there's your basic. Point A, point B, right? Okay. Now we go into a line. So it's going to describe a line. Okay. Is that down below where it says a line? A line is made up of... Yeah? What's it? A line is made up of... There, you get it? What is a line made up of? An infinite number of points. Because even though we stick our 2 fingers in the air and we draw a line between the points of our 2 fingers, that line in between would have points all over it, wouldn't it? Right? Kind of like a number line. We could put all sorts of infinitely many little numbers on a number line because between 0 and 1 is an infinite number of numbers, isn't it? 0.0000000000001, right? Or 0.99999999999, right? You could have, so same way, so a line has an infinite number of points, okay, it's made up of it. The arrows show that the line extends without end in both directions, so we're going to use little arrowheads in the end of our line. A line can be named with a single lowercase script letter, so they italicize it, or by 2 points on the line, and that's what we usually do. But there's occasion where we'll say line M or line L, especially when we're talking about parallels and transversals later. The line at the right is named line, capital A, capital B together, or line, capital B, capital A together, or line, script, lowercase l. Okay? The symbol for the line, now this is where we're going to get into some nemeth. The symbol for line, AB, is an overhead indicator, capital AB, right? Do you see that? So you should have capital capital A, capital B, and then you're going to use this over indicator. Do you see that? Have you ever used the over indicator before?
What the?
Let's see. A, B, and then the 1, 2, 6. You see that? So A, B, 1, 2, 6. You see that? In Braille?
No.
Up here. So it says the symbol is AB, and then keep following it. And it directly over is 1, 2, 6. Okay?
We've never used that.
You never used that, so you're learning something new. Excellent. And then you have the two-way arrow, which is going to be ED, OW, dash, dash, right? 2, 2, 5, 2, 5, and then O. See that? Now, the reason, let's see if I can get you to remember this. The reason why that is called line AB and why we use all of that is in print, your peers that you'll have in math classes that don't use Braille, they're going to write it out. They're going to write out a capital A, a capital B, and they're going to draw an arrow over the capital A and B. It's all going to be in one space. So you're indicating with your Nemeth that you've got capital A and you've got capital B, and now you're giving the directly over indicator, 1, 2, 6. You're saying, hey, directly over my AB, I have a two-way arrow. Now the two-way arrow, it's the ED. That's like a shape indicator. Have you used that before? ED. So shape indicator, and then you create a two-way arrow. If you're familiar with any print at all, have you ever experienced any print at all, raised wise, or seen it or anything?
No.
No? Okay. Well, in print, what they use is they use like a left arrowhead and a right arrowhead, and they're like these little angled brackets. So next to the ED, if you take a look at the OW, if we connected the dots, it would create a print left arrowhead if you connected those little dots. If you connected the dots between the 4 and the 2 and the 2 and the 6. And then the dash dash in between, if you connected that all together, it would create a little line. And then the O, if you connected the little dots, would be like a right arrow. Does that help you? So it looks like an arrow in Braille. And so they're saying directly over my capital A and my capital B, put this two-way arrow, okay? So that it shows that it's a line AB. Okay, does that make sense?
Why is there an ER at the end?
What's it? ER is terminator. So you're letting it know I'm done telling you that I have directly over AB an arrow, okay? You gotta have a terminator. Okay? So directly over and then terminate it after you're done. Does that make sense? New Braille today. Woohoo! Okay. So when you read that, you would read line AB. What you need, Mr. Face? Got it?
Do you have the Easy Math Triumphs grade 8 in here?
Triumphs. I don't think I have any text. I think I might have in that pile over there like some teacher edition stuff or something.
No,
But you don't need that. You just need
I'm looking
books.
for a copy, a whole copy, so it'd be a lot of. So I don't
think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
All
Okay,
right. Sorry,
no problem. All right. So then they give you a graphic to look at. So in the middle of your page, there is the representation of a line. So notice that you have two little buttons. Directly above the top button there is the capital letter A. So you would say that's point A. Then you follow that slightly down at an angle to the right, and you find another button or point, right? And what's that point called? B. Directly above it is B. And then in between, notice that they drew a line, right? And look what they did with the line. They extended it past each point, didn't they? And they put little arrowheads, these cute little triangles, right? So have you seen that before? When you've seen a line or a number line or something? You've got it. You got little arrowheads.
We made number lines.
You made number lines, okay. And you created then arrowheads using your O and your OW.
Mm-hmm.
So they're putting little triangles to show those arrowheads, and they're going to use those a lot. Also notice down below the line you should find a script lowercase l. Do you find that?
Mm-hmm.
We can sometimes below a line, they'll also do a scripted lowercase letter, usually like an A, a B, an L, an M, or an N. And you could name the line just based on that script letter if it's there. If it's not there, then you have to name this line. Either you type out line, capital A, capital B, or you braille out capital A, capital B, directly over indicator. Is that a WH, right? 126. WH. GH. I'm sorry. 126. I get my GHs and my WHs and my ARs all mixed up. And then your two-way arrow, which is in shape indicator, ED, OW, dash, dash, O. Okay? That reads line AB. You can also say that that is line BA. So a line can be named in any direction. Okay? It'd be like saying Rebecca is the same as Akabar, Akabar or whatever, right? We could name, you would respond to it either way, right? It's like, I'm really easy. JJ is still JJ, right? Okay. Oriane would be
Nero.
Nero?
Yeah.
Nero? Yeah. So a line we can name forwards or backwards, and it's still the same line. So line AB is the same as line BA in this case, okay? So we can name it. Typically, we name them in alphabetical order if they're just sitting out there in space. If they're part of a shape, then there's some grammar rules around how we'll name the shape and where we start, okay? All right? Okay, ready? Still got about 13 minutes. Okay. Whew. Take a breath. You just learned about points and lines, right? Let's recap. What do you understand about a point? What are the important things about a point? No wrong answers, just throw something out.
A line goes through.
Line goes through points. Okay. How many points?
Infinite.
Infinitely many, but how many do we at least need to get a line?
2.
2. But then once we create the line, we have infinitely many. Excellent. Is there a size to a point?
No.
No. We could have a point on a point of a point. Have you ever heard or read of Horton Hears the Who?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where there's like a little world that's within the world, right? And then there would be a world within that world and a world within that world. That's like a point. There's a point and then a point and then a point and then infinitely on into the universe. Okay. All right. So point has no size. We need a couple of them to make a line. How do we label points? How do we identify points? Capital indicator, capital letter. Good. All right. And then we, in Braille and print, we make a point on our paper either with a raised dot, or your Braille is nothing but a bunch of points, right? Or we draw a point on the paper if we use writing utensils like that. All right. So now, what about a line? What are the different criteria for something to be called a line? What's the definition of a line? What would you tell me if you were to argue that something is a line? If you were to go to geometry court,
They connect.
They connect 2 points. A line connects 2 points and then has infinitely many points on it, right? Now, what does it do, though, If it's just connecting the 2 points and it stops, you're going to learn that's a line segment. But what does a line actually do after it goes through those 2 points or connects those 2 points? It keeps going on. That's right. It extends. That's another word for going on. It extends, E-X-T-E-N-D-S. It extends into infinity in both directions through those points. So we show that in math, in print, and in our Braille with what? How do we show that it's extending into infinity? Arrowheads. Yeah, arrowheads. It's as simple as that. Yeah. Speak with conviction. You've got this. Say arrowheads. Okay. It extends with arrowheads, and that shows that it goes into infinity in both of those directions with an arrowhead on each end. And in your tactile, in your picture, we have a couple of arrowheads. Okay? How? Now, here is how do we identify a line or label a line or use a symbol for a line? A couple ways we can do it. 3 ways, right? 3 ways we can. This particular line we could label. How would you label this line on your page? Braille quiz time.
Do you use the letter first, then
do the letters first? So capital A, capital B.
And then
Okay.
O-W.
Then GH.
Oh, yeah.
Is it G? It's GH, right?
And then ED.
ED.
O-W,
Okay.
Dash O.
ED and then OW dash O. Right. And that's saying line AB. Okay. AB is a line. All right. How else could we label that line? It's line AB. What else could you do? Ooh, if we were trying to build the space shuttle as fast as we could and get it to the moon, we'd be crashing. Rebecca, how else could you label that line?
What subscript thing? I don't know.
Okay, so Oriane said it would be capital A, capital B, the GH, the ED indicator, OW dash dash O. That would be, you'd read it line AB. How else can we label a line?
I forgot the other ways.
Okay, remember you could be Rebecca or you could be Akaber, right? Okay, so if it's a line AB, what could we also name it?
Line B.
Line BA, right. So we do the same Braille. So say the Braille to me. Oriane already did it. You got to do it now. Label it with the Braille with the BA. So line BA. How would you do that in Braille?
Capital B, capital A. GH80OW dash O.
Yeah, awesome. All right, excellent. Woohoo! Okay, now one more way we could label this line that you're looking at on your paper, this AB line. What is the other way we could label it? Actually, you could just write line, right? And you'd write, notice that it is an italicized, right, or a scripted L, right? You see that? The script L. So the English letter indicator, L, okay?
I don't know.
The dot 56, L.
But that look.
Okay? So you could say line L if there is a little script next to the line. If there's not a little scripted letter next to the line, you can only name it by its points, any 2 points that it goes through. Now, if we had a bunch of points on this line, you would get to choose any of those 2 points to name it. So if there was a C on this line, we could name it line AC, line BC, line AB, line CB. We could have a whole bunch of choices. Okay? All right? Okay.
So this one wasn't here, did it be line Maybe.
Yeah, if that superscript L, if that, excuse me, not superscript, if that italicized L that it was not there, we could only name the line based on its points.
Okay.
So if we wanted to name it with the script letter, if it's there, we can name it. Because sometimes you'll have script letters. Not always, but sometimes you will. Okay? Let's go practice this. Go look at example 1 on page 13. And we'll do these few little exercises for our last thing we'll do today, and then you'll be excused. Okay? We've got about 5 minutes. So page 13, it says example 1. Did you find it? Oh, back up a page. Or yeah, back up a page. There you go. Page 13. You're on 13C. Back up to page 13. We'll get used to reading these pages. There you go. 13 straight up. All right, it says name 2 points on line M. So they've identified this line with a superscript letter, or excuse me, an italicized letter, a script letter, right? Okay, so go find the graphic. Notice that you have a line. You have 2 arrowheads on each end. You have 3 points. So this is where I warned you, Miss Oriane. You might get 3 points. We have P at the bottom left of the line. We move up the line to the right, Q, and then R. Okay? So we could name this a lot of different ways. But we're going to just identify the points right now. And they said only identify 2 points. So which 2 points would you like to identify on this line?
P and Q.
P and Q. How else could you identify 2 points, Ariane? We got P and Q. What else do we have?
PR.
PR. Right. Maybe if Paige was here, we'd ask her and she'd say QR, right? Okay. Or R, yeah, so we have these 3 points and we could name any of the 2 points. So we'd have several choices, wouldn't we? Okay, now we have a lot of different ways we could name this line. And it's just saying name 3 ways to name the line. So we use any 2 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you used PQ as your 2 points, you would name it with the PQ. If you chose to use QR as your 2 points, you'd name it with the QR. If you chose PR, you'd name it with PR. Okay? Does that make sense? You'd use your Braille. Then you could also name it backwards, couldn't you? Right? If you QP, or if you had PQ, you could say QP. If you had QR, you could say RQ, right? So there's a whole bunch of, like, how many ways could we name this line? Let's try it. Let's figure it out. We could name it with its script letter. What's its script letter?
M.
M. So we'd say line M. Okay. What's the next way we can name it? Line,
R.
not R. We can't use R. You can't just have 1 point. That'd be a point. Line RP. Okay. Name it another way.
Line QR.
Line QR. Name it another way. PQ. Name it another way. RQ. Are you seeing what's happening here? Right? We got several ways we could name this one line. And every time, if you had to list out all the ways to name the line, you would either type out line, the word line, so L-I-N-E, right? L contraction I-N-E. And then you type capital letter P, capital letter Q. Capital letter Q, capital letter P. Right? Okay? Or you do capital letter P, capital Q, GH, ED for shape indicator, O, dash, dash, OW. Each time. Okay? All right? Lots of ways to name the line. What's the most important thing you need to remember about naming a line? Can you name it with just 1 point?
Mm-mm.
No. What does it need?
2.
2 points. We always name it with 2 points because we got to know what 2 points it's going through, okay? All right? So, you are in my math lab tomorrow or not? You are not. Okay, so I will see you on Tuesday. Okay? On Tuesday, we're going to have a little mini quiz on how do you name a point and how do you name a line, and you'll be graded on whether you named the line correctly, point and line correctly, and if you did the Braille right. Okay? It'll be worth 5 points. All right? You feel confident that you'll do okay on that?
Mm,
If not, you might want to study together to test yourself out, remind yourself of the Braille today, tomorrow, Tuesday. Okay? If you don't remember, you can go onto Yammer and check it. I'll post a little thing on Yammer to remind you. Did you get your Yammer invite?
yeah.
Okay? All right. So that's what's going to happen on Tuesday, okay? Good thinking today. You're starting to speak up more and more. I like it. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.